Love the look of that. Love the look of that. Thairo Estrada officially named a Colorado Rocky. Welcome, everyone, into the broadcast. I'm Christian Saez. Riley, pressing the buttons behind the screen. It's a good day. Happy Friday, everyone. And I got to say, it's a little interesting for me. I'm having to follow up after a pretty big show for us. Von Miller, I don't know if you guys saw this, but Von Miller was on the DNVR Broncos show literally just minutes ago. So now I get to follow up, all the Broncos hype, all of the playoff coverage, Von Miller being on a show for DNVR, and I get to talk about the Rockies for a little bit, which is always a little bit fun. I'll do my best to make this as exciting as I possibly can, but I just had to set the stage early that I can't promise that this is going to be as exciting as having Von Miller on your show. But like I said, this is still an interesting time for the Colorado Rockies, and I'm glad we're able to break some of it down today and get to talk a little baseball. And I got to also say, before I start this off, I don't know if it's just me. Maybe you're in the same boat as me, but I am so ready for baseball season to be back. Yes, I am pumped up for the Broncos. Yes, I'm excited for that. Nuggets, Avs, I'm grateful that we have great sports happening in the state of Colorado still right now. But I was looking through my phone earlier this morning and old pictures popped up of just Coors Field and going on hikes with dogs in the summer and all this stuff, and I'm just like sitting there thinking to myself, I gotta go outside and scrape the ice off my car here in the next few minutes, and I don't really want to be doing that anymore. The cold walks in the morning, the frozen temperatures, like I'm over it. I drove out to Greeley last night, and I was like, like trying to make sure that my car stayed on the road because of all the ice. It's just not fun. It's not fun. I'm kind of over it. Some people are winter people. I am not in that boat anymore. I am ready for summer, and I'm ready for Rockies baseball. And yesterday, we came, at least in my eyes, we came a step closer to Rockies baseball in 2025. The Rockies came to some agreements with some of their players for arbitration deadline. We're going to break that down as the show goes on. They also officially signed Thairo Estrada from the San Francisco Giants. We're going to talk about that as well. The Rockies are pretty much set for 2025. And, there's a conversation on whether or not there's going to be some last-minute surprise signings for the Colorado Rockies. Are they going to add another pitcher that's going to booster the bullpen a little bit? Are they going to make a splash? There's some conversations that, there's this mystery team that's currently in conversations with Roki Sasaki. Is that the Colorado Rockies? Again, we'll talk about that as the show goes on. But before we talk about really anything that has to do with this offseason, any of the signings, anything like that, I got to address something that really pissed me off these last few days. And it happened a couple days ago, but I haven't had a chance to talk about it. So I wanted to take this opportunity to share my thoughts on an egregious misunderstanding that I hope it was from Major League Baseball. Because if you are on social media and you follow Major League Baseball or MLB Network specifically on social media, you probably saw they put up their MLB's top 10 center fielder list. And can I just say it was the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. And I'll have Riley throw up the graphic on the screen. We'll try not to blind you with this awful list for too long, just because it just was, like I said, truly egregious. And I'll go through the list as well as we pull this up. But spoiler alert, Brenton Doyle wasn't in the top 10. That's the biggest issue for me. I understand that Brenton Doyle plays on a team in which the Rockies have lost 100 games the last 2 seasons. They have been pretty much non-existent in the world of baseball since 2018, right? I get it. I'm not looking at this through purple-colored glasses, as I think we do a lot of times. I will hand on my heart.
I view the Rockies in a biased light plenty of times because this is the team that's near and dear to my heart. It's a team that I cover. I think in this case, I'm not being biased. I'm not sitting here on my, in Colorado on my Rockies horse saying Brenton Doyle is a top 10 center fielder when really he's not in all reality. No, he is. Look at all of the metrics that Brenton Doyle has put forth as a Colorado Rocky over his 2 years of starting for the Colorado Rockies. He's got back-to-back Gold Gloves. He's one of the most consistent highlight reels that you see in the center field mark. The dude is an absolute stud. And I was actually, maybe I was looking through, purple colored glasses when I had this conversation, but I was talking about legitimately including Brenton Doyle in a platinum glove conversation when the Gold Glove came out, and we said, okay, Brenton Doyle's a Gold Glover. Now we're looking at platinum gloves. Who's going to be the platinum glover for the National League? I legitimately thought Brenton Doyle could have qualified for a platinum glove because of the position that he played, playing center field at Coors Field. What center field is just as a position in the outfield too. I mean, you're the leader of the outfield. His arm strength, his speed, his agility, his bat. I mean, I know you don't pay attention to this when you're talking about Gold Gloves, but his bat has picked up recently. Like Brenton Doyle, to me, was in the conversation to be a platinum glove candidate in his second year as a Gold Glover. And you're going to sit there and tell me that Julio Rodriguez, Jackson Merrill, Byron Buxton, Michael Harris II, Mike Trout, Brandon Marsh, Dalton Varsho, Garrett Mitchell, O'Neal Cruz, and Luis Robert Jr. are all better than him? Get out of town with that. Like, come. Like, I wanted to throw my phone through a window when I saw that. So, I want to kind of try to give my take on why I feel like Brenton Doyle wasn't included in this list. And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, it's probably because he plays for the Rockies. And yes, that's a part of it. I do think it's because Brenton Doyle has not arrived on the national stage yet. And I think there's a lot of people, including the national pundits, that don't really know a lot about Brenton Doyle, aside from just the sheer fact that he's won back-to-back Gold Gloves, which in my mind should automatically qualify you for the top 10. Like, if you've won back-to-back Gold Gloves and you're still very young and early in your career, like, you should be in that top 10 list, but whatever. Brenton Doyle, I think, kind of arrived on the scene nationally in the month of July last year when he won National League Player of the Month for the month of July. And I think people started to recognize who he was. He made a couple appearances on MLB Network. But I still think, again, partially because he plays for the Rockies, but Brenton Doyle just hasn't made as big of an impact on the national stage that people are forgetting who he is and what he's done. And he hasn't made an All-Star game, which I predicted that 2025 is going to be the year that Brenton Doyle makes an All-Star game for the first time. But he hasn't made an All-Star game. And I got to say, when I was in Dallas and I was watching some of the MLB, like live, watching MLB Network, and I was watching them interview Bud Black and Bill Schmidt and do some of the Rockies conversations, not once was Brenton Doyle mentioned. Not once. And I mean, he's a cornerstone piece that the Rockies have on their team. They should be building their franchise around Ezequiel Tovar and Brenton Doyle. And not once do I remember him being mentioned, at least as a deeper talking point. Maybe he was mentioned in passing, but as a talking point, he was not mentioned. Hell, MLB Network talked more about Charlie Blackmon's retirement, and not him retiring, but how the Rockies handled his retirement. Like they're giving out pity awards. I mean, they're sitting there with Bud Black and the MLB Network guys are like, hey, can I just say, Bud and Bill, I really love the way that you guys handled the Charlie Blackmon retirement. Like, what the hell are we talking about? Like, oh, yeah, cool. The Rockies handled that really well. There was nothing else happening at the end of the year. Charlie Blackmon retired. Todd Helton got into the Hall of Fame. Like, that's what you're hyping up around your season when you're losing 100 games. But there's more to the Rockies than that. And anyone who really knows baseball knows that there is more to the Rockies than that. And I understand that I am yelling at you from, on top of this Rockies hill. I get that the Rockies are a bad team. The Rockies need a lot of things to go better for them in 2025 and beyond if they want to start making steps and taking steps towards being a better team. But there are things that are already working out that I feel like there needs to be some recognition on. Ezequiel Tovar is a top 10 shortstop, at least. Brenton Doyle is a top 5 center fielder in Major League Baseball, for sure. So I wanted to actually break this down and make a real top 10 center fielder list, because I just couldn't stomach seeing MLB Network breaking down every, like, why they chose their top 10. I didn't see them mention Brenton Doyle once. Maybe I missed it. But I saw that they had little packages on each player in the top 10, and they did little breakdowns. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, they really had a producer put all of this together and sit there telling me that O'Neal Cruz is a better center fielder than Brenton freaking Doyle. Like, what are we talking about? So I went out and made my own top 10 center fielder list. I will agree with the MLB Network. I do think, on one thing, I should say, I do think Julio Rodriguez is the number 1 center fielder in baseball right now. He's a young Ken Griffey Jr. Like, that's how I watch him play. Now, Julio has had some other issues that around his game, as have Brenton Doyle. But I think Julio Rodriguez, I have him at number 1. I got Dalton Varsho at number 2, and the fact that, again, at least they had him on the list, but the fact that MLB Network and MLB had Dalton Varsho at 7 on their list, again, egregious to me. And I had people arguing with me saying, like, oh, well, they used all these metrics. They used, defensive WAR and all, defensive run saved, blah, blah, blah. I get it, but Brenton Doyle was leading in most of those categories, so that's a stupid argument. So, and Dalton Varsho was right up there. I would make the argument that Dalton Varsho and Brenton Doyle at one point in last year could have been the top 2 center fielders in all of baseball. 100%, just those two, right then and there. So I have Dalton Varsho at number 2. And at a big whopping number 3, we have Brenton Doyle. Again, I don't think I'm going crazy here. I don't think it's insane for me to say that Brenton Doyle is a top 3 center fielder in Major League Baseball, a back-to-back Gold Glover, the best metrics in the National League defensively, 1 National League Player of the Month, in the conversation for platinum gold or a platinum glove, manning one of the hardest outfields in all of baseball at Coors Field. The story writes itself. You could put him up there 1, 2, or 3, and I have him at 3 because I want to be a little realistic in giving credit to Varsho and Rodriguez. Jackson Merrill, number 4 for me. Another guy that, you could probably put in the top 5 or in the top 3, I would say as well. You can kind of organize that as you wish. But Jackson Merrill, another great guy. Mike Trout's top 5 for me. He's number 5. And the reason I have him at 5 is I just think he's getting a little older. That's the way of the game. He's still a great center fielder, just getting older. Playing. Another guy who's, plagued by playing for a team that has struggled for pretty much the entire time he's been there. So Mike Trout's 5. Byron Buxton, number 6. Michael Harris, 2nd. 7. Brandon Marsh, 8. O'Neal Cruz, 9. Luis Roberts, 10. Junior, 10. You could 6 through 10 is a toss-up to me. Like, you can mix those guys in as you please. But top 5 has to be with a combination of these guys: Julio, Dalton, Brenton, Jackson, and Mike Trout. It just has to be. And I would love, what I should have done, Riley? I should have reached out to MLB Network and tried to get their producer that made this stupid list and get them on the show to argue with them. That would have been a good bit. I just thought of that now. We'd let him have a piece of our mind. Yeah, you throw it up there. Why not? We can throw that. Yeah, that's the list right there. That is the list. It's just the fact that you just don't have Brenton Doyle even on the list. I would have probably still been upset, but I would have been okay if you put him at 10. He's center fielder. Yeah. He's switching. I don't know. Again, 6 through 10. I don't care. Brenton Doyle's not a 6 through 10 center fielder. So I had to go on that rant to start off this show because you know me, I like to get a little pissed off every once in a while. And for once I actually got to be pissed off on other things, national baseball stuff, not Rockies stuff. So shout out to the Rockies for giving me a platform to stand on and shout from the high heavens that Brenton Doyle is a top 5 center fielder. All right. I did start the show by saying that we were going to talk about the Colorado Rockies and the moves that they made, Thairo Estrada, some of the arbitration eligible players and the deals that they made. And I want to kind of break it down and talk about the specifics, my conversation, along with some of the other media members' conversations with Estrada, some of the things that he told me that he's excited for, that he's looking forward to, and some of the things that I think are going to be a little different in 2025 as we approach, attempting to avoid another 100-loss season. Like, let's be real. That's what it is. The Rockies aren't making the playoffs next year, and Riley and I were just talking about this before this show started. You're not a playoff team, so you have to set your own metrics and get better on those each year, right? The Rockies need to ensure that they are not a 100-loss team, and not even just a 100-loss team next year, but like you can't lose 99 games either. You've got to, like, I'm saying 90 losses or less, right? And I think that's realistic. So what do the Rockies need to do to get to that spot? We're going to talk about that when we come back from this break. But before we do, got to give a shout out to our friends over at HelloFresh. HelloFresh is a meal plan that is near and dear to my heart. I have been using HelloFresh since 2020. I think even before that. I don't know the exact date that I started. I could probably look that up on the HelloFresh app. Marissa and I, my wife and I, we started using HelloFresh during COVID, and they have been incredible because I really wanted to start, cooking more, and I've enjoyed cooking, but I don't like having the hassle of going to the grocery store, buying tons of spices and all that stuff. I want to go make some salmon dinner with, rice or whatever. Like, I don't want to have to go buy like a ton of extra spices and all this stuff for a dinner I'm going to cook one time. And so we tried HelloFresh, and HelloFresh was incredible because they send you this box. For us, we chose the meal plan that has 5 meals each week. It gets us through our entire week of dinners, and they send you a big box, and they've got bags in the box, and each bag has your meal in it, and it's got all of the ingredients that you need already pre-proportioned. Everything's already set for you. So if you need 2 tablespoons of paprika, it comes in a little tiny packet of 2 tablespoons of paprika. You don't have leftovers. You don't have excess waste. Use exactly what you need. It is a filling meal. And the beautiful part about it is, whether you like cooking or not, as long as you know the basics of cooking, how to preheat an oven, how to do that kind of stuff, they've got a great instruction list, recipe, all of that, and you get a home-cooked meal. It's not like you're just taking something out of the freezer and just throwing it in the microwave. I mean, it is a home-cooked, fresh meal, 30 minutes or less, and I will say some of my favorite dishes I've ever tried at home that I've cooked myself have been through HelloFresh. They are truly, truly incredible. I will shout their names from the rooftops because I've been using them long before they were a sponsor at DNVR. They are truly one of my favorites. And I know my favorite meal that I had last week from HelloFresh was their bacon jalapeno mac and cheese. So good, so good. A little carbs, a little cheese. It was great. Loved it. But they've got tons of different choices to choose from. You can choose from, carb smart recipes. You can do high protein recipes, holiday recipes when that's around the corner. Like, they've got so many different options. So get some free meals. Actually, if you go to hellofresh.com/free Rockies, use that code free Rockies applied across 7 boxes. For new subscribers only, it varies by plan. That's 10 free HelloFresh meals just by going to hellofresh.com/free Rockies. That's America's #1 meal kit and my personal favorite. Also, got to give a shout out to our friends over at Mando. Mando is a men's deodorant brand that's hyper-focused on keeping every aspect of your body smelling fresh and clean. I've actually got a little Mando sample packet here that you got. And as I said, it's whole body deodorant. And the emphasis here is whole body deodorant. And I want to go a little deeper on that. It's whole body deodorant. They're not just talking about your pits. They're talking about everything that comes along with that. So if you're like me, you get outside, you do a lot of things, you're active a lot, especially in the summer. I'm going hiking, I'm fishing, I'm getting a little gross. I mean, I've come home a few times and Marissa's been like, yeah, you need to spice it up a little bit before you come anywhere near me because you're smelling a little gnarly. This would have been a lifesaver last summer when it was like 110 degrees. But now Mando has entered my life, and it is a game changer because it makes sure every part of my body is smelling fresh and clean. Truly cannot get enough about it. Cannot say enough about it. And the cool thing about it too is, like, look, you want to smell good, you want to smell fresh, but for us guys, it's really nice to be able to have like a good manly smell as well. So like if you're going to be, putting some full body deodorant on, you want it to smell manly and you want it to smell fresh. This one right here is this one's bourbon leather. They've also got Cloverwoods, Mount Fuji, Pro Sport, really whatever you're into. They are incredible. So like I said, if you're like me, you get outside a lot, you sweat a lot. That's just the way it is for a lot of us. Mando whole body deodorant for pits, packages, feet, and more. That is how it goes with Mando. Mando's starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, like mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and with free shipping. As a special offer for listeners, new customers get $5 off your starter pack with our exclusive code. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack. Use code DNVR at shopmando.com. That's shopmando.com. Please support our show and tell them that we sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando. Love it. Appreciate you guys. Back here on the DNVR Rockies podcast, Christian Saez, Riley pushing buttons from behind the scenes. And the Rockies had some moves that they made. And I will say, I mean, this is not a surprise. Thairo Estrada was already very well in our hearts and minds as Rockies fans, as Rockies reporters, as Rockies host. We all knew this was happening, but it took a while. And I don't really know why it took so long for the Colorado Rockies to make things official with Thairo Estrada. And to put things into perspective, like, look at the Giants, for example. The Giants signed Willy Adames, and it was reported that they were signing Willy Adames. And then he was like in San Francisco doing a press conference within, like a couple weeks, right? And I get it. Willy Adames is a much bigger signing than Thairo Estrada. However, it still was a little weird that the Colorado Rockies had not gone through and confirmed this signing for over a month almost since winter meetings when it was announced. So much so that there was a fan, actually, I don't have the clip of this or anything, but there was a fan who actually emailed Dick Monfort, which is becoming a trend, by the way. Maybe it's time for Dick to switch his email up there because he's starting to get some fan questions a lot from what it looks like. But a fan emailed Dick Monfort and asked, like, hey, are there any snags? Like, what's going on? And he just responded, no. Love that. This time it was sent from his iPad, if I remember correctly, as well. First time when we saw that just like a month ago, when Kevin sent an email to him about Roki Sasaki, or no, it was Juan Soto, I believe. His response had included, sent from iPhone. This time it said sent from an iPad. So that's interesting, to think about. Dick Monfort just, the Rockies owner just sitting there on his iPad, like getting fan mail. I'm sure not all of it is the most enjoyable to read, but this one was at least well thought out. But he said there was no snags, and it turns out there are no snags. Thairo Estrada signs with the Rockies. He signed for a 1-year deal. All of that information is already out there in the public. But I want to talk a little bit about Estrada's media availability that he had yesterday, because he met with me and some of the other media members around the Rockies world, and he spoke through an interpreter. He spoke through Edwin, who I just got to give credit to Edwin, did an incredible job interpreting. I know you guys as the fans probably don't know Edwin, but Edwin is the interpreter and also works in Rockies communication and stuff. He does an incredible job as the bridge between a lot of the Spanish-speaking players and us in the media, and then by association, you guys. So because of that, though, I don't have clips to show you because I'm not going to necessarily show you clips of Edwin speaking, and translating for Thairo Estrada. However, I can give you kind of some rundowns. I think one of the interesting things that kept getting brought up over and over in this conversation with Thairo was his connection with some of the Venezuelan and or Spanish speaking players on the team. So German Marquez, Antonio Senzatella, and Ezequiel Tovar, obviously, and then some of the younger guys as well, who haven't had as much run time with the Rockies as some of the other players, Luis Peralta, Angel Chivigi, players like that. But he did say specifically that he had a relationship and had met, and actually they had reached out to him. German Marquez and Antonio Senzatella had both reached out to him prior to Estrada signing with the Rockies. Now, he didn't confirm whether or not they had reached out about signing with the Rockies, like if they had reached out being like, hey man, like you should come sign with us, or if they had just reached out for other things, life things. Like, it's a very tight-knit community in the Venezuelan baseball community. And so he did say that he has already spoken with German Marquez and Antonio Senzatella. And then the bigger one that I think the question kind of came up more and more was, hey, what's the relationship that you have with Ezequiel Tovar? Because you guys are, both Venezuelan players. You're both going to be playing up the middle. Very similar play style, too. I mean, Tovar is obviously, I think, a step up in defensive ability than Thairo Estrada is. But Estrada's a very good defender. That's probably what he rests his cap on, I would say, for most of his game. And he did say that him and Tovar have connected since he signed, or since he at least was reportedly signing with the Rockies. He said they've already started kind of having conversations. He is living in Tampa right now. He's living in Tampa, Florida, training out of there. That is where the Rockies are going to be playing their opening day at Steinbrenner Field in the with the Rays, playing in that minor league / spring training facility out there. So it's going to be close to home for him. But yeah, he just said that relationship with Tovar is going well. I've said this before, when we had the reports that he was going to be signing with the Rockies. I'm excited to see Thairo and Tovar, the two T's, playing up the middle. Like, they're fun to watch. I mean, we all know how fun Ezequiel Tovar is, but I posted on Twitter a while ago when we found out that Thairo was, reportedly signing with the Rockies, that I found out and posted, some highlights of Estrada just playing against the Rockies. And he has a ton of web gems in just his 24 games that he's played against the Rockies in his career. The dude's a stud defensively. Yeah, his injuries kind of tripped him up a little bit, but that affected him more offensively than anything else. I'm excited to see him and Tovar turning things up the middle. I think their relationship is going to be cool. Thairo Estrada seems like a more kind of energetic, not like Hefrian type of energetic, but like, or Jose Iglesias as another example, but he seems more outspoken. He was kind of like joking around with us because his daughter was running around in the background of of the Zoom call. Like, he was joking around with us a little bit as we were on the call with him. So, he seems like he's a little more outspoken. We all know Ezequiel Tovar is a pretty laid back, chill, quiet, like, you kind of have to push him to get some words out of him. Very serious, take care of business kind of guy. So I think there'll be a good dynamic up the middle. And I specifically asked him, hey, like, are you excited about not only playing with Tovar, but, this infield for the Rockies, like, this is a team that prioritizes their defensive ability. I mean, that's all we have to hang our caps on, right? Like, our offense sucks, worst in baseball. Our pitching is getting better, but still was pretty bad last year, really bad last year. But our defense is great. We had, 3 Gold Glove nominations. And if Nolan Jones was healthy, he could have been in that mix too in his, rookie season in 2023. So Michael Tolio, is another guy that you add into that list. Like, this is a great, great defensive team for the Rockies. And I had asked him, like, hey, man, what are your thoughts on just being able to play in that and to play with that defensive front that the Rockies are? And he obviously credited Tovar, and he talked about Ryan McMahon a little bit, but he intentionally pivoted the conversation to give credit to the outfield, saying that, like, I'm super excited to play on a team that has such a good all-around team defensively and the outfield too. And he talked about Brenton Doyle. I thought that was really cool that he specifically called out the outfield, because, I mean, he's an infielder. Like, he doesn't have a lot. I mean, he's the cutoff man for these guys. So for him to credit the outfield, to recognize how powerful of a team the outfield is for Colorado Rockies, maybe he should have done the freaking top 10 center fielders list. My God, he would have put Brenton Doyle in a top 10 center fielder spot. So cool on him to recognize that. He did say, we asked about whether or not he feels healthy. Of course, he's going to say he feels healthy. I mean, he's trying to protect his contract. But he sounded genuine about it. We'll see. If he's healthy, though, I hope that him and Nolan Jones are the two guys that bounce back from injuries next year. If they both bounce back really well from injuries, I mean, Thairo is only 28 years old. Like, he still has peak years in his career that he could give to the Rockies. Now, is he a long-term solution for you? Maybe not. Like, maybe if you're shooting for a playoff window in the next 5 years, like, maybe he's not your second baseman in 5 years, but he's a guy who can play, who could play really well. He could exceed expectations within these next 2 seasons. So I'm excited to see him if he stays healthy. He obviously credited, liking hitting at Coors Field. He's got like a 348 batting average at Coors Field. Again, Rockies pitchers aren't putting up too much of a fight for him, but hey, we'll take it. If he keeps playing, if he hits 348 at Coors Field throughout the season, man, wow, that would be a miracle. The interesting thing, though, that I think surprised me a little bit was he mentioned that he wants to prioritize stealing bases in 2025. And I think that's a really cool statement that he made on his own. And now he might have already had some conversations with Bud Black or some of the coaching staff, but that's been a sentiment that the Rockies have mentioned, that Brenton Doyle told me when he was on as a guest for this show, that the Rockies want to be a team that's scrappy. And you have to be. If you're going to even claw yourself into the conversation of a wild card game in 2025, you will not be able to go toe-to-toe slugging it out with the Dodgers, right? Like, you're going to have to get scrappy wins. You're going to have to kind of go the Oakland A's route, the unconventional, just, scrape out a win here and there. And you do that by playing small ball, getting on base, and stealing. Thairo's not going to be a 20 home runs type of guy, but if he can be a guy that gets on base, his on-base percentage is high, and he steals a lot of bases, maybe he gets 20 stolen bases on the year or more, and you've got, Brenton Doyle, Ezequiel Tovar, and Thairo Estrada stealing 20 bases or more each year. I'm all for that. Sign me up for that. So I was excited to see that. I was excited to see him credit that, and his ability to steal bases. And hopefully, a lot of his injuries were upper body, so hopefully that doesn't impede him in any ways. But got to take a quick break. After the break, though, I want to break down some of the arbitration deals that we made. I have to do it, but I got to talk a little bit about some of the players the Rockies are overpaying, specifically on the pitching side for 2025. And I also have an interesting Flashback Friday segment that we're going to be hitting after the break, where we go all the way back to 1982. Not Rockies related, but I think it's something you guys will get a kick out of. So we'll talk about that when we come back from break. But before we do, got to give a shout out to our friends over at Toyota. Toyota is the official vehicle of DNVR and the official vehicle that's near and dear to my heart. I've had a Toyota my entire life, and I don't plan on stopping anytime soon. And I was just driving the other day with Marissa, and we drove past the brand new 4Runner, and I've never seen her get so excited about a car in my life. And she was giving me the eyes from across the seat of like, dude, you better get your finances in check so that you can buy me a 4Runner. Because I'm technically the one who's supposed to get the Toyota next. I have my eyes set on like a Tacoma or a RAV4. Like, I love the Tacomas, but maybe a RAV4, like the SUV, is an incredible car. Does well up in the mountains. It's kind of an all-around car. We're looking at having kids soon. It's got all the extra seats. Like, all of that stuff is great with the RAV4. Good gas mileage, that kind of thing. But she's looking at me like, dude, we might skip you, and I might be grabbing this 4Runner before you even have a chance to get your new car. So just be careful out there, Toyota fans, because if you're driving with your partner and they see some of these new Toyotas that are driving around the streets out there, you might be in trouble. You might be making a trip to your Toyota dealership here pretty soon, because they are nice, and those 4Runners are sexy. I no judgment. I enjoyed looking at that 4Runner as well. But hey, I got to advocate for myself. I'm the one who's supposed to get the car next, so I'm gonna have to fight that battle as that goes on. And that's why Toyotas are so great. There's so many to choose from. You can look at an incredible 4Runner and say that's the car of my dreams. I've heard plenty of people say that. A souped-up Toyota 4Runner, car of my dreams. For me, like I said, I'm looking at a Tacoma or a RAV4, but no matter what you're into, they've got so many different choices, so many things to choose from. They are great. Really, all of their different cars are incredible. So visit your Front Range Toyota stores at a location near you. AutoNation Toyota, Arapahoe and Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, and Stevenson's Toyota East in Aurora, Stevenson's Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota is the official vehicle of DNVR. All right, got to give a shout out to our friends over at Shady Rays, because if you're like me, you got to have some shades with you wherever you go. I carry my Shady Rays with me every single day, and I literally, I'm not exaggerating, I have sunglasses on me at all times. I have them in my backpack somewhere around here under the desk. I have Shady Rays in my car, and the reason being, not only because they are great looking, they're affordable. I have the polarized ones, which are really, really good. Take them fishing with me. You can see the little fishies swimming around under the water. A bonus. But it's Colorado. And if you're new to Colorado, then you probably haven't realized this, or maybe you have, but even in the middle of winter, it's blindingly sunny. As actually, I would even say, especially in the middle of winter, it's like burn your eye sockets type of sunny. And can you burn your eye sockets? I don't know if that's a thing. Burn your eyeballs type of sunny. I learned that the hard way. Went on a hike one time. It was brilliantly snowy up in the mountains, and it was sunny that day. And I literally thought I was going to go blind. So don't make the mistake that I made. Pick yourself up some Shady Rays. They are the sunglasses voted 5-star, rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. And hey, we got a cool code for you. If you would like 35% off your polarized sunglasses, you can use code DNVR. Again, that's 35% off polarized sunglasses using code DNVR. And yeah, Shady Rays is the best. We love them. We appreciate them being a sponsor of this show. All right, Riley, you want to pull up that video for me? I'll cue it up here in a second. I want to show you guys this. We're doing a little Flashback Friday here on the show. And I came across this the other day, and I wanted to share this with you. It's 2 minutes. But if you flash back to July of 1982, Major League Baseball was hosting their first ever Cracker Jacks Old Timers game, and Braves hitting coach Luke Appling, who was 75 years old at that time, stepped up to the plate and did this. If you got it ready for you, Riley, we ready? All right, play it up there. See what happens.
In at first base for the National League, Phil Cavarretta started at the bat for the National League. At second base, Red Shane Deans, currently a coach with the St. Louis Cardinals. At shortstop, Pee Wee Reese. And at third base, Ernie Banks. In left field, Stan Musial. In center field, Hank Aaron. And in right field, Ralph Kiner. The catcher is Smokey Burgess. And the pitcher, Warren Spahn. And 75-year-old Luke Appling, who still works in the Atlanta Braves organization, facing Warren Spahn. Deep to left field. Way back there. Home run. Luke Appling. 75 years old. Oh, you gotta love it. Is that great, Red?
I told you when you were talking about him at the start, he could still swing that bat 75-0.
Luke Appling rumbles around the bases, 75 years old. There it is. Hitting Spahny's pitch into the left field seats. Let's go down to the American League dugout and George Graham.
Luke Appling, 75 years of age, and Luke, you put some wood to that one.
Not necessarily short left field then. I'm usually a right field hitter. But Spahny said, don't let me throw too many pitches. And I said, well, lay it in there. He did.
You've had some great moments. This one of the greatest for you?
Yeah, I enjoy being here with these good boys. You know, you don't see them all. See a few going around old time, but never all of them together like it is here. This is wonderful.
That's Luke Appling, a batting coach in the Atlanta Braves organization. He put it to good work tonight with a home run.
Wait till the boys see that I work with. I tell them the pitch was 400 feet.
That's awesome, man. Dude, 75 years old, can barely run around the bases and smoked that ball in a Major League Baseball park. I mean, that's incredible. I didn't seeing some of the names just back in July 1982. For context, by the way, Bud Black is 67 years old. I mean, he's almost 10 years younger than Luke Appling, and Luke Appling hit a home run in the Cracker Jacks Old Timers game back in July of 1982. I just had to share that because I'm like, that's incredible. That is pretty cool. Hey, speaking of Bud Black real quick, I saw this graphic pop up, and Riley, you can pull this one up, of the amount of times a current manager has been ejected in their career. And Bud Black's up there at number 5. He's been ejected 38 times. So can we just give a one big salute to our manager, our man in chief, the leader of the Colorado Rockies, 38 ejections as a manager in his career. Also, Bruce Bochy, what was his number? Was it 96, 80, 86 or something like that? 86? That's incredible. I mean, like I said, I've told you guys this before. I grew up in a Giants household. You know, we watched a lot of Bruce Bochy's games and as a kid, and I don't really have any memories of him getting tossed, especially not 86 times. I know he's like, I mean, he's 75, it looks like. You know, I mean, he's an older guy. And so I know he's been around the league for a long time. But man, 86 times that he's been ejected. That's incredible. So, but yeah, shout out to Bud Black, because I think I was commenting on one of Blake Street Banner. They were doing a podcast, you know, like I think earlier in the week, or maybe it was a week ago, and talking about, you know, what do the Rockies need to do to kind of get fans back interested and excited about next year and whatnot. And I had kind of commented in this point, you know, and they had kind of elaborated on that in their own take. You got to be able to make things fun again. And whether Major League Baseball likes it, and to be honest, whether Colorado Rockies as an organization like it or not, ejections, benches clearing stuff, all of that stuff is fun for the fans. When Cal Quantrill went nose to nose with Reese McGuire and called him out for whatever reason. I mean, we know the reason, but like, it was out of the blue is what I'm trying to say. Like, just, you know, and for no reason, I guess is what I'm trying to say. When Cal Quantrill called out Reese McGuire for no reason and started that benches clearing incident, like, we loved that. I revisit that even today. And that was just one moment. When the Rockies reportedly signed Jeffrey Yan to a minor league deal, and we got to see all the highlights of how just hyped up Jeffrey Yan gets whenever he strikes someone out. We were all hyped. I could care less what Jeffrey Yan, whether he stepped foot on a Major League Baseball field or not. Like, the dude's electric. So I went out there and was like, yep, this is fun. This is good. Rockies need more signings like this. So I get it. You don't go out there trying to get ejected. Bud Black's a laid-back guy. He's chill. He's fun. But I've seen him get pretty heated, and I want more of that in 2025. Maybe that's one of my resolutions. I didn't say that on my resolutions show, but maybe that needs to be a resolution for the Colorado Rockies. Bud Black needs to get ejected more times than he did last year. I think, how many times did he get ejected last year? Once, twice? I don't remember. But get ejected a few times, Bud. The fans will love it. We'll love it a little bit more. Real quick, before we wrap up this last break, I do want to go back to the arbitration eligible players. Just to go down the list, in case you already didn't know, Austin Gomber signed with the Rockies for 1 year, $6.35 million. Justin Lawrence got through all of that, got through the negotiations. He's going to be signing for just shy of $1 million, $975,000. Ryan Feltner, which was the big question mark to me, he's the one I think that you put the most weight on. He signed for $2.275 million. I know there's a lot of business that goes on behind that. I'm sure that number is correct. Like, from a value standpoint, Ryan Feltner had the best ERA on the Rockies last year. I would have loved to see him fight for a little bit more. Again, I'm sure he did. I just, on the outside looking in, I would have liked to see Ryan Feltner make more money than Austin Gomber. And I understand why Austin Gomber makes more money. But Ryan Feltner, I think, has more potential moving down the road. Jimmy Herget signed for $850,000, Sam Hilliard $1 million, and Lucas Gilbreth $785,000. Just the main point I want to make is you're paying Austin Gomber $6.5 million. Dude's got to step up. And I know some of the games that he lost last year weren't his fault, but he has had a plus 4.5 or 4.35 ERA his entire time, his 4 years for the Rockies. You got to step up, man. You've got pitchers that are knocking on the door right now to be in this Rockies lineup. Sean Sullivan, Chase Dollander, to name two. You got to step up. And so I think that's where that money to me goes, is you're making $6.5 million next year, man. You gotta earn that. Westbrook says greatest pressure to perform in the franchise is on ownership and has been for years. I agree, but unfortunately for the Rockies, they're making money. And I say unfortunately for the Rockies. I should say unfortunately for the Rockies fans. They're making money. You're selling tickets now, albeit they're starting to slow down, and TV revenue is going down a lot. So I think there's the ownership is going to start feeling the pressure a little bit more But the pressure is on the ownership only to an extent because they're still a very profitable franchise. And I'm not going to go too deep down this rabbit hole because I've done this before. I've talked about this before. You know, it's much deeper than this whole issue of like fans need to boycott the Rockies, whatever. Like, it's not going to change much. Bad baseball is going to, in the end, cause the Rockies to lose money. And they're seeing that. They had to do payroll cuts this year because their TV revenue was down. And I think if Dick Monfort, Bill Schmidt, and all of the ownership group for the Colorado Rockies start to see more and more that they're losing more and more money each year because they're not putting a better product out there, there will be a tipping point. Now, I don't know if it's going to be this year. I don't know if it's going to be next year. But there will be a tipping point because there's only so much you can do with putting fans in the seats when your team isn't making money on the back end. So I do agree with you that, you know, there will be pressure on the ownership, but I think, you know, right now they have a plan and they're sticking to that plan. And all we can do is pray. So we're going to take a break though. After this break, I have an interesting little segment I want to do because there was an interesting graphic I saw that popped up on social media and was talking about, I don't know, I was making this parallel between baseball, some baseball teams, and a popular book series. And I wanted to you know, dive in on the fun and do a little Rockies comparison here. So we're going to talk about that when we come back. But got to give a shout out to our friends over at Breck Distillery first. They are truly, truly my favorite bourbon. My favorite bourbon whiskey, not only just here in Colorado. I mean, I you know, even when I'm hitting the road, like I'm always missing my Breck Distillery bourbon whiskey. And if you've been at any of the Broncos tailgates up to this point, you probably saw it. They were at all those tailgates. There's a reason they're so connected in this community. It's because they are truly one of the best, if not the best, bourbon whiskey, in my opinion, here in Colorado. And they have the record for world's highest distillery, and that's pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, you're distilling whiskey, vodka, as high as you can possibly get it here in the United States or here in the world as it goes. So we love Breckenridge Distillery, their bourbon whiskey. They also have an award-winning restaurant as well if you're going there for more than just the drinks. Truly, truly one-of-a-kind experience, one-of-a-kind whiskey, and one-of-a-kind vodka, I've been told. I haven't personally tried the vodka because I'm not a vodka guy, but I have some friends who like vodka, and they said they love the Breck Distillery vodka. I will take it on their word. Their vodka is incredible. But like I said, their bourbon is my personal favorite. So you can enter to win 2 tickets to a Denver Broncos game in the Breckenridge Bourbon Whiskey Suite. Share how you celebrate Broncos by posting your photos to social media using hashtag Broncos Bourbon. Also use code DNVR at checkout for free shipping on all orders over $99. Learn more at BreckenridgeDistillery.com. Speaking of Broncos, guys, I'm trying to save you the feeling of FOMO, fear of missing out. Broncos watch party happening here at the bar Sunday. You have to plan ahead for this. This is not a show up at 11:15 or even 10:45 on Sunday and expect to get a seat, expect to get a table. This is history here. The DNVR bar has never had a Broncos playoff watch party. I'm going to be here. I'm going to be rotating into the watch along upstairs. I know I have friends that are coming. I know we have a DNVR table that's going to be set up downstairs, and it's going to be packed. It's going to be wall to wall. Broncos fans, it's going to be a party. 11 a.m. Again, don't show up at 11 a.m., but that's when it starts. Broncos watch party on Sunday. Be there, be square. Find more information, thednvr.com/events. All right. Back here on the DNVR Rockies podcast, wrapping things up. Final 10 minutes of the show, and I saw this graphic. Brooksgate, if you're not familiar with them on Twitter, social media, whatever, follow them. I will promote them. They're not a sponsor by any means. They don't even know we exist, but they post incredible graphics, and they really outdid themselves with this last one because you can throw this graphic up there if you've got it ready, Riley. They posted this graphic, and it was... Here is how I would rank these team names in a Hunger Games / Battle Royale scenario. Now, the Rockies aren't included in this, so we're going to make our own here in just a moment. I'll leave it up there on the screen, though, Riley, because we'll give people a chance to look at this if you haven't already seen it. I'll look, for example, a team I grew up watching, being from Seattle, the Mariners, a person who navigates ships. Then they have, a column that says strength, weakness, and then tools and weapons. The Mariners are a mariner would be very proficient and navigationally and on water. I guess that could help if there's water in your Hunger Games situation. Weakness, pirates. I love that. I love that. And their tool weapon would be compass. Now, it doesn't seem like, if you've watched Hunger Games or read the books, it doesn't seem like that would be it would be a good survival skill set. But the weapon, I mean, a compass isn't really much of a weapon. You're just, I guess, evading. Maybe you're trying to stay alive longer than everyone else. If you're not familiar with the Hunger Games, the goal is you put all these people in this environment and everyone tries to kill each other or stay alive, and the last person standing wins. I mean, that's the gist of it. The Dodgers, they had a trolley dodger, a resident of Brooklyn that dodged trains. Good lateral quickness. That's funny. I don't really, I guess. No combat experience. Their weapon would be a top hat. Is this the first time the Dodgers have had the worst odds to succeed in any graphic that Brooksgate has put out there? I really would love them to do this for the Rockies, but because I don't have the grace of working with Brooksgate and having them put a graphic like this up for the Rockies before, I'm going to make one for my own. So you can pull down the graphic here, and I did my best to make my own Hunger Games scenario, Battle Royale scenario for the Colorado Rockies based on those metrics. So the Rockies are a mountain range, obviously. So we're going to have to avoid this idea that the Rockies aren't a real person. But if there was a person, if you could personify what the Colorado Rockies are, it would be a mountaineer, right? Someone who scales the Colorado Rockies, who survives in the Colorado Rockies. So the strength for a Colorado Rocky person, a mountaineer, would be outdoor survival skills. That's a pretty good skill. That's a pretty good, you could survive. If the Hunger Games scenario was in a wilderness type environment, a mountaineer could survive in that. You can build fires, you can forage, you can do all of that stuff. Mountaineers are very versatile when it comes to survival skills. Weakness would be you probably don't carry a modern weapon. Now, if you saw on the graphics, some of the teams, they had old graphics, but or old weapons, I should say. But they their weakness was, they don't have a modern weapon. The Rockies, a mountaineer, probably wouldn't have a modern weapon. Their tool or weapon would be a pickaxe. I'm thinking Yukon Cornelius type vibes. We're doing ice pick climbing, that kind of stuff. It's a weapon, but it's not a modern weapon. The Texas Rangers, their weapon was, a revolver, right? You're an old Western, Texas Ranger. So they would have a revolver. That's a modern weapon. So I thought that was an interesting one. I hope that Brooksgate does a graphic that includes the Rockies, and those would be my things. They'd be a mountaineer. Their strength would be outdoor survival skills. Their weakness would be they don't carry modern weaponry, and their tool or weapon would be a pickaxe. There it is. There it is. I mean, that's the point in the offseason we're at right now, Riley. We are making up battle royale situations and scenarios for the Colorado Rockies because that's what's happening. I told you, we had Von Miller on the Broncos show minutes before we did this Rockies show, and I'm doing my best to hold my own here. Okay, we're hanging in there. Hey, before we wrap things up, Roki Sasaki said that his agent Joel Wolf said that he has met with a mystery team. Now, realistically, it's not the Rockies, right? It's not the Colorado Rockies. Am I going crazy? It's not the Rockies, right? It's not. Now, I'd love for it to be. I'd love for it to be the Colorado Rockies. I put this out on Twitter when we saw this because I, of course, doing my job, posted a picture of Dinger saying, "Hey, it's us. We're the mystery team." But it brought up an interesting point because I was talking to AJ, who covers the Avs for us, and I was like, I realized I'm like, even if I found out right now that the Rockies had a formal meeting with Roki Sasaki, even if they don't become the ones who sign Roki Sasaki. Let's say he signs with the Dodgers. I wouldn't blame him. But him just having a formal meeting, the Rockies getting a formal meeting, would be a massive success. Would it not? Like, am I crazy in saying that? I feel like if the Rockies just showed the initiative enough and the aggression enough to go out and pursue Roki Sasaki to the point where they could pitch him well enough to get a formal meeting, that's a win to me. Because yes, I understand it doesn't really matter if you don't sign him on paper, but that to me would show that the Rockies are trying. Like, I hate being the person that sits here and says, like, it's like, that meme that's like poking the person saying like, please do anything, or poking the person with a stick saying like, please do something. Like, but that's kind of how we feel as Rockies fans, right? And I'm not going to go too down the negative trap because the Rockies have made moves and they're sticking with what they say their plan is. So that's fine. Do that. Whatever. You're not winning a playoff game this year. So make some of those smaller signings, the Thairo Estradas, the Jimmy Herget, the Kyle Farmers, and lean on bringing your Chase Dolanders up into the mix by the end of the year. Like that's how you make next year a successful year. But if you show me that you're at least interested in things like this, that is a huge success for me, for the Colorado Rockies. So just the fact that the Colorado Rockies, if they were to get a meeting with him, that would be enough for me. Again, we're taking little victories here. Now, this hasn't, the Rockies haven't confirmed that they are the mystery team. In all likelihood, I would think it would be like the Rangers would be the mystery team. I would think that would be more in line, or even like the Diamondbacks would be more in line with my understanding of what a mystery team would look like for Roki Sasaki. But hey, a man can dream. What can you do? We're hanging in here. And like I said, it's the middle of the offseason. We are just holding our breath until February rolls around and we can get some Rockies baseball back in our mix. I don't know the official date. I don't know the official amount of days that we have remaining until baseball comes back. I know pitchers and catchers report in less than a month. That's something. That's what I was going to end the show on. Rockies Fest coming back here pretty soon. We got Rockies Fest on, I believe, the 25th. Tickets are on sale right now. The cool part about that is you're going to get to meet some of the up-and-coming prospects. I think for me, that's the coolest part. Like Chase Dollander, Sean Sullivan, like those guys are going to be there. So I would imagine and expect, I'm predicting it, I'm betting the farm, that Chase Dollander is going to be in a Rockies uniform at some point in 2025. So get your chance to meet Chase Dollander before he is a Rocky at Rockies Fest. Charlie Blackmon's going to be back there, which is super cool. Really cool that he's coming back. I get it. Rockies have had a tough relationship with their fans for years, but look, we still love baseball in Colorado. Your thoughts and frustrations with the team aside, we love baseball in Colorado. Come to Rockies Fest. Get just a glimpse of Coors Field, in the winter and just get to be around baseball for just a few minutes, right? I'm going to be there. I'm going to be talking to Bud Black and some of the other players, hopefully get a chance to talk to Chase Dollander, guys like that. And we're just going to be moving forward, right? We're going to be doing our best to enjoy what we can before this offseason wraps up and getting you guys ready for spring training, which is not that far away. I'm going to wrap things up here on the show. Thanks, guys, for hanging with me. You can follow us on Twitter at DNVR_Rockies, myself, DNVR Saez, on social media. Shout out to Riley for pushing the buttons today. Have a good weekend, everyone. Go Broncos. We'll see you guys next week here on the DNVR Rockies podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.